Want to buy a property in the US but you don't know where to start? On this episode of Own It, we're going to answer the top 10 questions from our foreign buyers. Hi, I'm Anthony Guerrero, the broker and owner of Manhattan Miami Real Estate. This is my show Own It, where I show you what owning it looks like in both Manhattan and Miami. Buying a property in the US can be very profitable, but it's also a little bit overwhelming. Most guides focus on how to buy a property if you're from the US, but what if you're not? We've helped clients in over 30 countries purchase property in Manhattan and Miami, so we have the answers for you. The most common question we get from foreigners is, can I even buy a property in the US? The answer is yes. The US government has no restriction on foreigners buying residential property in the United States. So now that you know you can buy property in the US, here are 3 rules to consider. Number 1, foreigners can obtain mortgages. Number 2, you have to carefully plan the structure of the purchase to avoid the estate tax. And number 3, you need to pay something called FIRPTA, which is a 15% withholding tax at closing. However, you get that money back when your tax accounts are settled. Do foreign buyers have to pay extra stamp duties? Some cities, such as Hong Kong, Singapore, Vancouver, Toronto, Sydney, Melbourne, add between 7% and 30% additional tax on foreign buyers. But in the US, there's no extra stamp duty. Do I have to pay a brokerage commission when buying a property? Technically, no. Commissions are always paid by the seller, and that commission is divided evenly between the seller's broker and the buyer's broker in something called a co-broke agreement. Can foreigners buy property in the US using a mortgage? The answer is yes. HSBC, Wells Fargo, and a number of other private banks have programs where foreigners can obtain mortgages for property in the United States. How are foreigners treated differently than US citizens when buying a home? For the most part, they're treated pretty much the same. The only 2 places where they might be treated a little bit differently is whether buying a co-op and financing the property. Generally, co-ops want primary homeowners, and if you're a foreigner living in another country, you're really not going to get approved for that purchase. Also, as a foreign buyer, banks consider this a little bit higher risk, so your interest rate is going to be slightly higher than a US citizen. But these are not government regulations. Do I need more than one agent to find a property in the US? The answer is no. In the US, because we can co-broke deals, we have access to all inventory that's available for sale, generally within 24 hours of a contract being signed. Committing to one qualified broker will ensure that you get the highest level of service, as all their attention will be on you. What types of properties can I buy as a foreigner? Foreigners can buy condos, co-ops, single-family homes, and multifamily homes. Although foreigners are allowed to purchase co-ops, co-op boards are very restrictive, and they really want primary homeowners for the most part. How should I structure the property purchase to minimize taxes? Property purchases can be structured in an infinite number of ways. However, most of our clients will either use a foreign corporation to own the property, where the foreign owner is outside of US situs, or they'll hedge against it with a cheap hedge using an insurance product. Lastly, do I have to worry about income taxes? Investors really don't need to worry about paying income tax on their rental income for at least 12 years after buying the property. Generally, a buyer will be able to offset rental income by a number of cash expenses and non-cash expenses. The cash expenses are property taxes, mortgage interest, common charges, insurance, and non-cash expenses like depreciation. Depreciation is a non-cash tax expense. You can depreciate property over about 29 years. Investors are allowed to use this non-cash expense to offset rental income, which creates paper losses in the early years. These paper losses can be carried forward 15 years, offsetting income for each year. Therefore, we don't really see investors paying tax on rental income for about 12 years. For more information about buying a property in the US as a foreigner, head over to my website, manhattanmiami.com, where we have tons of information for you, including our free foreign buyer's guide that has much more detail. Over at Manhattan Miami Real Estate, we've been through this process countless of times, and we are pros when it comes to helping you own it in Manhattan and Miami. For more videos about Manhattan and Miami real estate, please subscribe. I'm Anthony Guerrero. Thank you for watching another episode of Own It.